In an alarming and disturbing story you won't hear reported by most Marxist media outlets in the U.S., hundreds of public school teachers have been arrested for child sex crimes so far in 2022. That equates to 1 every 24 hours. Now, in just the first 9 months of this year, at least 269 K through 12 educators have been arrested on child sex crimes. Is there a correlation with the fact record numbers of teachers identify as homosexual, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender? Parents, once again, you've been warned. I'm David Fiorazzo, and this is Christ and Culture. "74% of these arrests involved alleged sex crimes committed by teachers against students." Now, the charges range from grooming to raping underage children. Democrat teachers' unions have kept many of these facts under wraps while they continue demanding more funding decade after decade. The growing list of so-called educators arrested for sex crimes contains 4 principals, 2 assistant principals, 20 teachers' aides, and 226 teachers, including 17 substitute teachers. Now, at the current pace, in the time that this story was first reported a week ago, and my relaying it to you, 7 more teachers will have been arrested for child sex crimes. The analysis by Fox News Digital looked at local news stories featuring arrests of K through 12 public school educators in school districts across the country. The scary thing is the fact many arrests involving teachers are not reported by the media, which means the actual number of teachers arrested is likely much higher. If this story was about the Roman Catholic Church or evangelical Christians, you know it would be front page news across the country. But leftist-controlled big tech media conglomerate will cover for one of its sacred cash cows, the Democrat Party's government-run schools. The number of teachers arrested for child sex abuse is just the tip of the iceberg. Much as it was, I should say, for the Catholic Church prior to widespread exposure and that massive investigation in the early 2000s. CD Journal's Christopher Rufo, a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, says these numbers are just the tip of the iceberg. Rufo further states, quote, "The best available academic research published by the Department of Education suggests that nearly 10% of public school students suffer from physical abuse between kindergarten and 12th grade. According to that research, the scale of sexual abuse in the public schools is nearly 100 times greater than that of the Catholic Church scandal." The question for critics who seek to downplay the extent of public school sexual abuse is this: how many arrests need to happen before you consider it a problem? How many children need to be sexually abused by teachers before you consider it a crisis? Excellent question. Apparently, the last time the U.S. Department of Education released a report on this problem was nearly 20 years ago. At the risk of stating the obvious, these teachers are simply acting on sexual desires and sinful impulses that have been promoted and normalized by Hollywood, social media, school books, and sexualized curriculum in the classroom. A few quick examples of school predators that have been arrested include a former Michigan principal, elementary school teacher, and coach who taught in multiple public schools and was charged with first-degree criminal sexual conduct and accused of sexually assaulting at least 15 boys during his education career spanning several decades. Next, a Texas middle school teacher was investigated earlier this year following allegations of misconduct involving a student, but they let him return to the classroom. He was charged with 2 counts of indecency with a child by sexual contact, and he was put on administrative leave Months later, when the district launched an investigation. One more. A Baltimore man was arrested last month, accused of impregnating a 14-year-old former student and having sexual relationships with multiple minors since 2009, including an 8-year-old student. The pervert has been charged with rape, numerous accounts of second-degree assault, and various sex offenses. Tragically, we could list more than one case for every day of the year, and yet most parents, I would say, don't have any idea about these stories and how frequently this kind of thing takes place. Now, amazingly, a report this past June was done called Study of State Policies to Prohibit Aiding and Abetting Sexual Misconduct in Schools. It analyzed state policies that allow, quote, suspected sexual abusers to quietly leave their jobs to possibly offend again in a different school district. Part of the problem is only 19 states require employers to request information from an applicant's current and former employers. Now, there are many possible solutions here. First, acknowledge the truth instead of saying, this could never happen in your town, right? Second, understand the level of depravity and deviancy within the public school system and remove your children immediately if you haven't already. Third, for parents deciding to take the risk and keep their kids in public school, you must be active and engaged every single day. Now, Chris Rufo and others suggest school districts adopt a simple policy. Ready? Pornographic and sexually explicit content must no longer be permitted in the classroom and the school library. He says it's a common sense, age-appropriate restriction, supported, by the way, by 79% of the public, according to recent surveys. But the left refuses to retreat on radical LGBTQ propaganda. Democrats in Virginia, for example, are pushing a new bill to give them power to put you in prison if you don't affirm your child's identity as non-binary, pansexual, or genderqueer. That's right. Parents could face abuse charges for not going along with the delusion and affirming their LGBTQ child. Now, a teacher friend of mine, an insider, sent me a school district email recently encouraging teachers to celebrate LGBTQ History Month in their classrooms during October. You've heard of Queer All Year, right? Well, the programming doesn't stop in June, which is Pride Month. K through 12 teachers also receive marching orders to support gender pronouns and transitions, and the list goes on. So, it's no surprise, according to a report, 42,000 minors were diagnosed with gender dysphoria last year. Since the data was based on insurance claims for gender transition treatments in the last 5 years, the actual numbers may even be much higher. This is a crisis the corrupt have created. I hope and pray you are not silent about it and know how to respond to those who normalize or defend depravity. They need the gospel. Now, these are simply consequences of rejecting God, redefining truth, ignoring biology and reality, and minimizing the agendas to indoctrinate children. We better wake up before it's too late. God bless you and keep speaking the truth about things that matter.